Hey everyone, it's Jack and you're watching The Lord of Dragons, and this is my House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 2 review. The episode begins in King's Landing with a maid carrying bloody sheets, and Aegon is destroying the model of Valyria that King Viserys built long ago, saying that he'll kill them all. Aemon realizes they walked right through one of the walls in his room, and that they might have even seen the plans that he and Sir Criston had laid out. Otto says we mustn't let it take us aback or some shit, and Alicent is breaking down and hyperventilating and saying that it's all because of her sins. In the council room, Aegon continues to have a breakdown, and he is questioning everyone in the room, literally questioning their loyalty. He doesn't want anyone to know that they were attacked in their own walls and in their own beds, but Otto wants to make sure everyone knows by having a huge funeral where his body is burned as a Targaryen. In the end, Otto wins out, and they plan for a funeral procession through the city. They jump over to Alicent telling Helaena about the funeral, but she doesn't want to be a part of it either. The next scene is them leaving the Red Keep in an enormous procession, and they're really dressed up, playing into it hard. Larys the Clubfoot Strong has blood down in one of the black cells, and he's being questioned about cheese. We go back to the funeral, where they show Prince Jaehaerys with his head sewn back on. Back in the black cells, Blood says, "Are you going to hurt me?" And Larys says, "No, but I cannot vouch for his grace." And then King Aegon enters the cell with some kind of a pipe or something and whacks Blood upside the head. Helaena appears to be having a panic attack during the funeral procession as people call out to her in support. The cart carrying Jaehaerys' body gets stuck in a pothole, and it seems like tension's kind of building. Next, they go to Dragonstone, where Maester Gerardus is telling Rhaenyra about Prince Jaehaerys and what happened, saying Rhaenyra is being blamed. She insists that they deny it. She's horrified that it happened, but she seems to be the only one in the room who doesn't realize that Daemon had something to do with it. But then it hits her, and we see her standing over Daemon and cursing at him and asking him what he did, saying he wounded her and weakened her claim, especially in the sights of the people and her council. She tells him she doesn't trust him and really never did. She accuses him of using her to get closer to his stolen inheritance. This makes Daemon angry, and he says, "I literally crowned you myself," and that he is trying to leave for Harrenhal to raise an army in her name. She asks if he accepts her as a ruler. She doesn't really get an answer. They begin to argue about Viserys and his intentions. Daemon thinks Viserys was weak, but Rhaenyra says he wasn't weak, he just didn't trust you, like I don't. He says it was a mistake, and that Aemon was supposed to die, not a child. And so Daemon's trying to throw out some regret, but really not seeing it so much on his face. After Daemon leaves the room, Baela enters. Rhaenyra tells her to take Moondancer in the morning and to fly watch high over King's Landing to spy on them, basically, and to see what they're gonna do next. Baela seems worried about what Daemon will do next, and Rhaenyra says that Daemon must follow his own path. We jump over to Daemon on Caraxes, and he is officially leaving Dragonstone, most likely headed to Harrenhal. Back at the Red Keep, Aegon and Helaena meet on the stairs, walking past one another, but Aegon just kind of glances at her and he keeps going, and Helaena really looks offended and saddened by it. And then we see men removing Prince Jaehaerys' bed and mattress from the room where he was murdered, and Sir Criston Cole is standing in the doorway watching quietly as if he feels guilty for nailing Aegon's mom when he should have been keeping watch. They show Rhaenyra playing with baby Aegon and baby Viserys, her two boys by Daemon, before we return to the keep where Alicent asks Sir Criston if he has told anyone about them, and he asks asks if she takes him for a fool. Everyone is extremely on edge at the Red Keep. Next we see Sir Criston getting into it with Sir Eric or Sir Auric, whichever, because his cloak is dirty and he's not willing to change it instantly. And it kind of seems like Sir Criston's looking for a fight maybe, and he questions where Sir Eric or Sir Auric was when Prince Jaehaerys was murdered, and he tells him he was with Aegon and asks, where were you? And why does Helaena not have a sworn protector? That's your job. And then Cole gets pissed and says, first your brother betrays us, and then the prince dies on your watch. And he tells him that he's brought disgrace on their ranks, and that now he must restore it. And we finally realize what Sir Criston is doing. He's guilt-tripping Sir Eric or Sir Auric into going to Dragonstone to slay Queen Rhaenyra. Sir Eric or Sir Auric isn't sure how he'll get past Dragonstone's security, and he says it's not really the honorable thing to do, but Sir Criston tells him it could end the war. Eric or Auric thinks he is being sent to his death, but Sir Criston says, will you go, or must I question your loyalty to the king? So we can see this is Sir Criston being desperate to make up for his own mistake and to impress Alicent. Otherwise, it might mean he is seen as the one that's a failure and traitor to his cloak. And so Sir Eric or Sir Auric really has no choice, and he agrees. Over on Dragonstone, Jace and Baela are hanging out and shooting crossbows, talking about Daemon. She asks Jace what he remembers of Daemon, and when she asks what he remembers about Sir Harwin Strong, she's kind of more or less indicating that she knows who his real father is. And Jace doesn't get mad. He's nice about it, and he says they called him Breakbones, and he thinks that he loved them, and Baela says of course he did, and Jace says that he misses Luke. And then the next scene we get is of Prince Aemond, and he's in a whorehouse with the same whore from season 1 that Aegon took him to so he could lose his virginity. They seem quite taken with one another, actually. Aemond is talking about how he regrets not being there when Jaehaerys died, and that he regrets killing Luke, and that he lost his temper that day. After that, we see none other than Hugh the Hammer, and he appears to be with his wife and his sick child, his daughter, in a small house in Flea Bottom. They're talking about money and stuff. In the book Fire and Blood, Mushroom describes Hugh the Hammer as this brute and drunkard of a man, but so far he seems really kind and family-oriented. We go over to Spicetown, where we meet Adam of Hull for the first time, talking to his brother Alan of Hull, who we met in the last episode. It seems to be the first time they've seen one another since Alan got back from the Stepstones. Adam asks if he'll be going back out again with the Sea Snake, and that it is a chance to distinguish himself. Alan is kind of apprehensive, but Adam says he owes us, brother, which indicates that Alan and Adam do know that Corlys Velaryon is their father. And so they take us over to Lord Corlys next, and he is in bed with Rhaenys, and he is saying he isn't so certain about Daemon's plan. Rhaenys says he is not the king, and so it doesn't really matter. They're basically discussing Daemon's need to control people, and that they'll see if he can take Harrenhal or not. In the meantime, I'm here with Meleys, and we must not let the queen falter, says Rhaenys. Back at Dragonstone, we see Rhaenyra in the library, and then Lady Mysaria the White Worm enters, and Rhaenyra wants to know what part she played in the events of Prince Jaehaerys' death. She says she had nothing to do with it, but Rhaenyra says, you did, however, aid in the theft of my birthright. She asks Mysaria who she is. Mysaria jokingly says, a prisoner. Then she admits she gave Daemon 2 names in exchange for her freedom. She wants to know if Daemon said otherwise. Rhaenyra tells her that he is gone, and Mysaria wants to know for how long. Rhaenyra says a week or forever, I don't know. Mysaria says he does do that, doesn't he? And Rhaenyra seems to finally realize who Mysaria is, and that there was something between Mysaria and Daemon once, and that she was supposed to be pregnant with this child once when they were back in Dragonstone or King's Landing. And Mysaria asks Rhaenyra to honor Daemon's words and allow her to be free, but Rhaenyra is not going to let that happen because she knows how dangerous the White Worm is. Mysaria tells her about the Hightowers burning down her her house, and how she realizes that neither Daemon, Otto, none of them really will ever accept her as a woman that can hold power. After that, we see Adam of Hull on the beach, and he's kind of collecting crabs and stuff when a dragon flies overhead. It is Sea Smoke, Laenor's dragon, and Adam is amazed at the sight, and the two seem to have this connection already, almost. Then we get our first glimpse of Ulf White, and he is talking to the women in Flea Bottom, where there are men hanging all over the streets on both sides, and he asks what they did, and she doesn't answer, but the camera cuts over to one of the men, and it's none other than Cheese, and he is hanging dead from a rope. Otto storms into Aegon's room and asks what he has done to the rat catchers, which were the men hanging, obviously, and he is yelling at him, calling him an idiot when Sir Criston says, "Be careful how you speak to your king, sir." "The king is my grandson," screams Otto, "and my grandson is a fool and worse for murdering innocent men." He's absolutely furious about it, but Aegon says, "At least I did something about it, and that he won't be thought of as weak." He says he wishes to spill blood, not ink, and that they need to act, and that Sir Criston Cole has acted. Otto demands to know what Criston has done exactly, and Aegon says that he has sent Sir Eric, or Sir Ark, to slay Rhaenyra on Dragonstone. "Gods help us all," Otto groans. He tries to tell Aegon about who Viserys was, his dignity. "Fuck dignity," says Aegon. "He was right about you," says Otto. Aegon says, "Yeah, but he made me king." Otto laughs in his face and says, "Is that what you think?" And then he walks off. Aegon is so pissed, he tells him to remove his badge before he can leave the room. He tells him, "You were my father's hand, not mine." Otto says, "You wouldn't dare." And Aegon says, "I just did, and I find it stimulating." Otto takes off the badge, and Aegon says to give it to Cole. "My new hand will be a steel fist," he says. Otto says, "You'll regret this," and Aegon tells him to just give Sir Criston the badge. Otto slings it at Sir Criston's feet and storms off once again, but before he can leave, Aegon tells him that he is dismissed as he goes. I assume he means from the small council. We see Rhaenyra again, and she is talking to Mysaria in the dungeons at Dragonstone, and she tells her that she is free to go, and that there is a ship going to Pentos, and that she will get passage for her. She tells Sir Ark, or Sir Eric, to see that she gets Mysaria's things, and that she makes it to her ship. As she is leaving for the ship, though, she happens to see the other one, Sir Eric, or Sir Ark, sneaking into Dragonstone, and she knows that he is there for trouble. He walks right into the castle as the guards can't tell that it's the wrong brother. As he is making his way down the hall, he sees his brother but manages to hide from him the first time. He locks one of the doors to Rhaenyra's room and heads for the other one. Rhaenyra is in bed about to go to sleep when he enters the room and pulls his sword. He says, "Believe me, I have no choice," when suddenly the other brother enters the room and begs him not to do this. They break into a fight, and Rhaenyra is cornered in her room, and her handmaiden escapes. She runs about trying not to get squished by Sir Eric and Sir Ark as they tear across the room, knocking into things and knocking things over, crashing around. Sir Laurent Marbrand enters the room and grabs Rhaenyra, but when he goes to stop the fight, he can't tell which brother is which. Rhaenyra can't get out of the locked door. One of the brothers runs his sword through the other one, and that brother dies. It seems to be the one on Team Black that is left standing, because he says, "Forgive me, your grace," and then he runs his sword through his stomach, and he dies as well. We go over to a still angry Otto Hightower talking to Dowager Queen Alicent, saying how Aegon and Cole wish not for the good of the realm anymore, but for the satisfaction of vengeance. Otto says he is returning to Old Town to counsel Daeron. Alicent tells him to stop at Highgarden on the way and get the Tyrells on their side, and that maybe all will cool down with Aegon by the time he returns. Otto says, "As long as you and me hold fast, we can still bring forth peace and prevail." And Alicent seems to really believe him, because they've now switched positions where he needs her and not the other way around. And what's funny is Alicent tells him she has sinned. She's trying to be honest and talk to him for a change, and he says he does not wish to hear of it, and so she storms off. She finds Aegon Aegon in his room and he's crying and she seems surprised by it. When she goes back to her room, Sir Criston Cole is there waiting for her. They seem to embrace when she suddenly slaps him across the face once and then twice and then again. He shoves her into a door and kisses her, and they go right back to their sins. And that is where this episode ends. On the footage for next week's episode, we see Rhaenys telling Rhaenyra that soon enough they won't even remember what began the war in the first place. We see that there will be a future altercation between the Brackens and the Blackwoods. Then they show Sir Eric and Sir Ark being buried next to one another. They show Daemon arriving at Harrenhal before jumping over to the now autoless Green Council. Sir Criston says we cannot hide in our castle and wait for war to come to us, and Aegon says good, to war then. We see the Black Council next, and they're talking about how there has been no word from Daemon, and they're debating what to do next, and saying they need to press the advantage that they do have, dragons, and Rhaenyra says if dragons begin fighting dragons, we'll be inviting our own destruction. She clearly still has her father's prophecies on her mind. The Song of Ice and Fire. We get a shot of Baela on Moondancer and Aegon on Sunfire, and that is all she wrote. So that's going to wrap up my House of the Dragon Season 2, Episode 2 review. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if so, please subscribe to the channel or drop a like. It greatly helps with a new channel like mine. I can't wait to see what the rest of Season 2 of House of the Dragon will bring, and I know you guys can't either. Seems like every episode so far has had a gut-wrenching ending, and so we'll see if they keep it up episode by episode. I hope to see all of you here next week for my Episode 3 review, and if you want to skip ahead and know what happens in all of Season 2, as per the book Fire and Blood, check out the other videos on my channel. I'm Jack, and I really appreciate you all joining me here tonight on Lord of Dragons, and I'll see you all next week. Have a good one, folks. Bye.